What turns an encouraging first half into a disappointing second half?
Yeah, I loved our first half, Rooch. I thought that was some of the best footy we've played. But I think it showed probably where we're at the moment is not been able to put it together for 4 quarters. And not taking anything away from Brisbane, who we know will do it for 4 quarters, and that's why they are where they're at. They're sitting at the top or up towards the top. We dropped away for probably just under a quarter, that third quarter, and it was in around the contest and our ability to be clean with the ball.
Chris Fagan talked about the speed of the game and he wanted to bring it to a slower pace because he felt you were playing it far better with fast pace on it. How did that control come out of your way, not to be able to put pace on the game anymore?
Yeah, they did that really well in the start of the third. They changed their game style slightly and it took us a little longer than we'd have liked to adjust back to that. So credit to them again. A good side, an experienced side that we did what we could to get the game on our terms in the first half and we were able to do that. And even then when we play some really outstanding footy in that first half, we come in, the good sides don't go too far behind. So we're a few points up. And then they were able to change the speed of the game slightly. They used the ball a little, lowered their eyes, and we weren't quick enough to adjust, as I said.
So 9 rounds, you're 3-6 last year. You told us a little while ago that you thought you were way ahead of where you were last year. Still holding that? Still believe that you're in a good spot?
Yeah, I think so. When we talk about we are in a much better spot, we're talking a squad here. We're talking a football club, and we had some guys step in this week. We made selection and made 6 or 7 changes, and we were really pleased with the guys and those guys who came in and played, and the way they stood up. And we were confident they would because of the form they'd been in at a lower level. They played some great football with SANFL, so our squad overall is a lot stronger than what it was this time last year. Are we in good form? We weren't in good form coming into this game. If you'd come and asked me at half time, I would have said we were able to find it off of doing some stuff during the week and working on our game and getting back to, we use the word DNA, but we had a recipe tonight that we went in with and we executed it for, I'd say, 3 quarters. Even the last, we felt like we played the ball in our front half and we weren't able to put scoreboard pressure on.
Who stepped up in your mind with that challenge without Butts there, without Lawson? Explain how he didn't play tonight.
Yeah, Butsy explained why he didn't play. Well, our health and safety protocols for Butts so late, unfortunately. But the whole group stood up. I mean, Murray came in and we knew, as I mentioned before, we knew he was in good form. He'd played some great footy at SNFL. But he was one of 7 that was back there, and we played a style of footy tonight, or we looked at a structure where we had a little bit of support for them as well. Their forward line it's a very tough one. A lot of the time you're putting one-on-one matchups down there. Charlie Cameron, you want to put him away, so Brown gets that job. Well, then you got to deal with a couple of others as well. That's the issue with their forward line. They were, again, they're small speeders. I thought it was a really tough night for talls at both ends tonight, but their small stood up.
You said your players were frustrated by those topics at the moment, the stand rule, the 50-metre rules, the descent rule. You sense they had a sense of frustration out there on the field?
I'm probably not going to comment too much around that one. Even the cameraman laughed. I think I think we're frustrated because we let ourselves down a couple of times tonight with those incidents where we, moving on the mark. We had one where Ned McHenry played on, and we encourage our players to play on in that moment. I think he believed it was a free kick for us. So it's a hard one for us. We'll talk about it, and we have done. We've had a lot of discussion around this because earlier in the year it was an issue for us. I think tonight a couple of incidents that we'll move on from.
It confuses the players though sometimes. I mean, it confuses us and it confuses some of the fans, but can you sense some confusion within the playing ranks about interpretations?
Oh, not tonight. No, not the 2 tonight. Ned played on and it wasn't our free kick. And the other one was moving on the mark. I think it was Josh Richelli. I'm not sure he thought he was on the mark, but again, it is what it is. Yeah.
How telling was that period at the end of the second quarter when we went from a 15-point lead and suddenly they have all the momentum going into half-time? How telling do you think that was on what happened at the start of the third?
Yeah, it would have been really nice to come in at half time with a little bit more of a buffer. I thought we probably deserved that up until half time, but it wasn't to be. As I mentioned before, the good sides find a way, and they're a very good side. They just found a way to hang in, and we were playing some of our best football that we've played for a period of time. So that's the work on, is then being tough enough to come out and do it again in the third, and we weren't quite tough enough in that third quarter. We had our chances over the ball, and we just dropped off a little bit, and to their credit, they were clean. They were very clean with the ball and punished us in a short period of time.
Were there any similarities in your mind to the third quarter last week where obviously you weren't able to...
I wouldn't draw any comparisons to last week at all. If you talk about our performance last week, we didn't see us at all last week. I had I was going to say luxury, but it wasn't luxury, of sitting back and seeing it from a different perspective. We didn't play our way last week. This week we brought our DNA, not for long enough.
Was there a better connect between ruck and midfielders with the change of ruck?
I really liked what Strawny brought. I think we all did. I thought he fought really well, especially through the first half. I mean, as we started to get behind, we all got a little tired and the game becomes a little harder, but I thought Strawny was really strong in that area. Now, he didn't win hit-outs, I don't believe, but our mids went to work at ground level, and there's more to the game than just that area. There's around the ground as well, and I thought Strawny played some really positive footy in that space, helped us defend the ground, helped us be in the contest first half. And that's the area, we don't hide from it, that's the area Rob's working on too, is around the ground, just getting himself back in the contest. So it was nice to have Strawn in some good form coming in. We knew what he was going to bring, and I thought he was pretty solid.
How did you assess those changes in general? You said, I think there was some risk of instability. It didn't seem like that, obviously, early was it?
Well, you'd normally, 6 or 7 changes, you'd normally have concern about cohesion or the connection of the group. But as I said, our Sanford team are playing some great footy, and they play the same style that we play at AFL. So the expectations in certain roles is the same. So tonight was a real positive that we were able to have those guys come in and not drop away, lose that connection. Although we did lose it for a period of time that cost us the game, and in the end, I don't know what the margin was, but I thought we fought it out really well, and it was a good sign for those guys coming in.
Strawny okay, so with ice on his knee, down the room, I'm guessing that's just...
I think there's about 90% of them with ice on. That was a good contest. I believe he's fine. I think we've come through with no injuries.
It's intriguing the use of Dawson, and Chris Fagan touched on it. He thought letting Barry on him in the second half was instrumental for them in getting the result. Is that sort of the template of I guess it's almost a floating role where it's not really defined by wing, half back, half forward. Is that sort of the template that you've got for him going forward? Or?
The jack of all trades, pop him where we need him. He's a very, very good footballer, and so tonight it was we needed something at that point. We made a structural change, and he was extremely important in that for us. And so, Barry going to him was influential on the game. It changed it slightly. It wasn't the reason from our point of view. We dropped away in some other areas during that period of time that cost us, because we saw it in the second quarter. They manned that up as well. They went to 7 forwards. So there's a lot of, we can talk tactics all night. There's a lot in the game, but really we dropped off for a period of time where our contest wasn't at the level. We sat off and we're waiting for them to give the ball back. Good sides don't give the ball back.
I think you touched on yesterday too about the defensive aspect, the points that you conceded. You put alarm bells with one ringing in the first quarter, no doubt. How did you tighten that up? I guess was it just winning more of your contest ball?
Well, and as I said before, it was some structural stuff we put in place which allowed us to compete, got us back in the fight. I mentioned their forward line; it's quite potent if you give them too much space. So we were able to shut that down. That got the game back on our terms where we could fight. But in the end, we still had the score against was still too high. We might have left 20 or 30 points out there with our goal kicking. Tonight, that's been an area of our game we've been really pleased with. We've had thousands and thousands of shots on goal, so we've got that work. But sometimes when you miss one, it can miss a second. You can go a bit cold in that area. But tonight we cost ourselves with some of that.
Do you feel like you saw more tonight of what you've got Haley in there forward in terms of the midfield?
Yeah, it was pleasing. Yeah, Haley was really clean with the ball. Barry's still bringing some stuff to our game as far as the physicality goes. I think he had 12 or 13 tackles again. we'll keep working on that balance for him and his game. But yeah, Jacko was a positive for us today. He wasn't the only one. You know, we had some others that we really liked their game. So, as I said, we're just going to be able to do it now for 4 quarters.
I'm guessing that's what you were speaking of a couple of weeks ago when you said that you wanted to give guys like Berry and Haley in particular a run at it. You're starting to see now the benefits of that.
There's no doubt with games with experience under your belt, the game slows down. And it's normally 20 or 30, 40 games. You get a couple of years under your belt of regular football. You start to learn through your experiences of getting things wrong, getting things right. And so that's what we're at the moment. We're trying to give that a little bit of consistency for some. But in the end, we want to win games of footy. So we want to pick a side that comes out and wins. And we're going to do that every week. And so we'll make changes. But normally we want to give guys 2 or 3 weeks to show what they've got.
Sorry, can I just go back to just 1 second, not specifically tonight, but I guess big picture on the stand. Well, are you in favour of it? Do you like it? Do you like what it's done to the game?
You know I can't answer questions around the umpire. I'll have a look at the tape, a lot of detail after this one. I always do. But I won't make comments around the umpires.
So while you're looking at the tape, and they've spent 2 minutes looking to see if it's touched a fingertip for score review, should we have it for whether the ball's inside or outside the boundary as well? Spend the next
Was there-
30 seconds looking
Was there one I missed there as well? You guys are trying to get me in trouble, aren't you?
No, it's a genuine question about where the game...
I would rather the game just flows. I would rather we play a game like it's been for a long time. And it flows and it's entertaining. That's what I'd like.
Thanks, guys.
That's your responsibility.
It is. I'm trying to do that for you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
I'll try